can't believe this is happening.
It's amazing.
Speaking of Angie Bowie, it is amazing, like, because you mentioned it today, but I've got a blabbermouth, and you know, I must have told about like.
Oh, what, is it hard to get a word in?
Yeah, in a minute. In the last couple of weeks, I've probably said, "Oh yeah, I'm interviewing Angie Bowie next week," and I just drop it into a thing, you know, and go, what? So you know, I'm just quite pleased to be doing it. We're really not about the past, but I just wanted you to know that you came into my life really in 1974, and I was, you know, a music fan, and you were all over the place, and so it was quite a big thing for me because you were like this quite female icon in a male world. So I just wanted to let you know that. So I've been aware of you for that long, but now what we usually do,
we're ancient together.
Yes, we're aging rather well together, I think. In the words of Shane McGowan, what are you doing now? Let's bring it right back up to date and start work backwards.
Oh, just writing, always writing. I'm doing a radio show. We started that a couple of weeks ago, but I've been doing an internet show because I love current events, and I tend on a personal page. I drive people crazy. I'm like posting all this stuff that are notes to myself about things I'm going to write about.
Yeah.
And they're like, what is the matter with this person? You know, it's like all current events. So I realized I was confusing people.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, I need to have another page. I'll make it into a show, a current events show. And then when I see all this stuff that I have to keep because I need, you know, Post-its to myself, I'll just put it on that page. And people that are interested in current events, if they want to come and see it, I'll be there 4 hours a week on Thursday mornings, posting and chatting and talking about it.
Oh, that's
I thought,
good.
what's to lose, right? I tend to let things evolve because I've noticed if I plan too much, the step's too big, and I'll, you know, show my butt as I'm climbing up the stair or something. You know, if I take small steps and just kind of progress along.
So, you do your show, and you said you've got topics that you pick for the show. You're very passionate about current affairs.
You know, this is a simple thing. It's like an effervescent cold medicine. I'm a person who was born in Cyprus, which is an island.
I didn't know that.
60 miles from Lebanon and 100 miles from Israel and Egypt and about 80 miles from Turkey. So there it is, right? I'm American, daughter of American parents, being effervescent, ba-la-ba-doo-ba-da-ba-doo, historical lab, Roman, Greek remains, history in the making, and you're allowed to run rampant. As a child, to the beach, you can go to Salamis, you can swim in the city that's descended under the ocean, you can see statues underwater, you can understand the might of Egypt, the glory of Israel, the incredible Syrian, the Persian Empire, the Macedonian. I mean, it's like madness. The Ottomans. It's all right there. And then, how can you ever forget it?
Well, you shouldn't.
It makes you so effervescent about people. You just say, come on, add water and stir. Let's just bubble and talk and have a good time. You know, what's the point of getting all bent out of shape? We can all be different. It'll all be cool.
I've seen your weekly show already on Facebook. You know, you share a lot of truth with people. And
my dad used to do that at the table, you know, with the Cyprus mail.
Oh, yeah.
He'd pass it down. It was like 2 pages. You know, I mean, it came to 4 pages. 1, 2, 3, 4. And he'd pass it down. He'd go, page 3, column 4. Check it out.
Yeah.
It was like, you know what I mean?
That's great.
Oh, ha, 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 ha. Oh, Dad. Oh, isn't that funny?
Well, I think because there's
Pass it to my mom.
There's so much out there, and I think everybody has so much access to so many stations, so many TV stations, so many papers, so much news, so much, and actually, no one's actually saying anything unless you look deeper. So I might watch Al Jazeera or Russia Today sometimes when I get a time, because it's a totally different. People don't realise that they're actually just being fed what they're supposed to be being fed.
Well, you know, I'll tell you something. It's funny you should say that. Being a writer, when I was working with David and when Tony DeFries came on board at first, when we had our first offices at Gunter Grove, I was so crazy about writers. I can enchant writers' imagination. I could say, well, let's do this. So even if a person's in radio or TV, if they're a writer for any of those media, you know, it was real fun for me. It was like an opportunity to hang out with another writer. I had a friend called Bob Musil, who was with Associated Press. And Bob Musil used to do these wonderful pieces about David that were really incredible. They were syndicated and they went around the world. And he and I would go to lunch, and I would basically lay out my idea for the next piece. And then he would say, perfect. Cool. Okay, great. So one day we were having lunch. We always had lunch at Liz E. And I had steak Diane every time. So yes, I'd love to be vegan, but unfortunately it's not happening just yet. I said, I think rock and roll needs to go to Russia. Now, the Beatles went there. So, you know, this was not new. To me, it was all about gender and homosexuality and being respected, no matter what your gender preference was. And I had a bee in my bonnet about it. So I thought, if we had to go to Japan, which we were going, then you're almost there. You could get on a ship and whip over. I said, now, Bob, you'd have to go with them, because if you didn't, something could happen to them. They're going to need you there.
Yeah, great.
And then Bob Musil said, well, I'll have to take a photographer. I said, well, you're going to have to take Lead Black Children's. I said, we got to keep it rock and roll. I'm sorry. I said, you know, some things we just got to keep it rock and roll. So Bob was the best. Bob was like, okay, sounds good to me. And off they went.
When you came over to the UK in 2010, I think Bob Geldof got really excited and wanted to interview you for his radio show. And they asked you about the big gig that you put on at the Roundhouse that kicked off the big glam scene. And I was always really impressed how you'd did all that, but you were also pregnant, you were promoting David Bowie, you were putting on the gigs, you were doing everything. And then when the actual gig was on, you stayed home to look after your son, didn't you? And I'm in the music industry now, and I've seen how you get treated as a young woman. I just wondered, what was it like to be in the music industry back then when you were, what, 19,
I'll tell
20?
you what, it's really cool. I'm so glad you asked me this question. You know, there is a show on British television called The Hour. It's about an hour-long news program. And that show tells exactly how women were treated. They were coming to be respected. There wasn't a light at the end of the tunnel. It was just a long walk.
Yeah.
And there were all kinds of obstacles and things that go boo in the night before you got to the light.
I bet, yeah.
When I came at rock and roll and I heard how they didn't treat musicians with any respect, and they put them in these nasty motels and worked them half to death, I was like, well, that's not the way you travel.
Yeah.
That doesn't help. How can you be an ambassador if you're exhausted and treated like, you know, yesterday's laundry? That's like, how awful is that? So when I got involved, I tried to, as a part of the bringing something new to the marketing concept of rock and roll, I was driven by the desire to succeed. I wanted David to have the most amazing representation, the most happy musicians, the best possible press. Oh, I got bent out of shape when they wrote bad things about him. Oh, I was terrible. There were some people who feared me in those days. And I have never had a problem with swearing. No compunction whatsoever. I love a good swear. And when they set me off, baby girl,
Were you managing him then? Or?
well, it was a joint effort. It
Yeah.
wasn't, I mean, taking some kind of responsibility, it makes it sound like you're trying to make out you contributed more. It wasn't like that. There was David and I doing what we could. His father died. It was bad. He brought me back. My father paid for it. He paid him back. I went there. I helped him look after his mom. The funeral. It was not good.
Yeah.
And he had an album coming out. And Calvin was like desperate for him to get out of this depression he was in and to think about promoting it. Not a problem. I mean, I can see how that is.
Yeah.
I watched my father. My father was a company man for 20 years. I knew what you do to make something work.
When I went to get the lights for today's filming, the guy in the shop, he asked me what it was for. So I told him we were interviewing you. And he knew everything about you and David. And I said, I heard David and Angie were as big as Posh and Bex. And he went, no, they were bigger. They were bigger than them.
That's what I said. It was a big thing. It was a dual thing
amazing.
at the time. Because I remember it. Because if you don't mind me saying, it was like I was into David. Watching magazines. I was 16. I was thinking, there's Angie. She must be amazing.
So. I hope everyone in the world was into it.
Yeah, it's great. But they were into you as well, though. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Wonderful work. I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud of him.
Yeah.
It worked.
That's great.
And it's affected the whole world.
I don't have any apologies to make about my tasking and completion of the mission.
I just want to see how that translates to your life now. How you think the music business is now. I mean, obviously it's totally different. But it seems to me that you're actually doing the right thing, doing it yourself, DIY, and just getting on with it, which is what we have to do.
Well, yeah, and you die all alone.
Yeah.
That's basically.
I wasn't expecting that.
You know what I mean? If you don't like your own company.
Yeah.
The whole point of continuing to exist is to be around to see how it turns out.
Wicked.
And one does these, sort of futile attempts when you're around 30 to snuff. That's it. I've had enough. I'm going to snuff. That's it. I'm done.
Yeah.
Snuff. And, if you start knocking at heaven's door and they say, fuck off.
Yeah.
Fuck off. We got no time for you. Go on, bugger off.
Well,
your number's not up. You are going to suffer until you are 100.
Exactly. I've knocked a couple of times, but they just turn me away. Back down those stairs.
And you just go, okay, I got it now.
Yeah.
There is no out for me. I'm just going to carry on.
That's what I say.
You get busy.
It's similar.
I got busy, and once I got busy, I realized I could light my own fire.
Well, exactly, and then you sort of get to this place. You think, well, they're not going to let me in there yet, so I might as well just make it count. And I think once you do that, you can actually help other people to get to that point. So that's good.
I think another thing is it makes us a lot more. Don't give me that look, Tara's. It makes us a lot more tolerant and welcoming and understanding of folks who have attempted to or suffer from depression or get into any of the varying stages of mental disorder, because it can be reordered.
I'm still in the music business, and half of them are kind of undiagnosed. I call them the great undiagnosed, and bring them on. I think that's great to allow them to create and allow them to feel okay. Very, very important.
So you talked about what happened with David being like a mission, but you're still on a mission, aren't you? Because you don't feel like your work ended with David. You've been doing loads of things. You've written books.
Yes.
You've done albums. And you write. You've been writing a long time. How long have you been writing?
It was either Jackie Magazine.
Wow.
Or Woman's Own. I wrote a piece on Cyprus when I was 8. And I got paid 5 shillings. And boy,
when
was
you were
I
8?
Pleased.
Did you say 8?
Yes.
Wow, okay, sorry.
I just saw the Woman's Own cover there. My mum used to get Woman's Own. I just saw a vision of it. But completely forgot about it.
Right. Well, this was just a letter. You know, they had a letters
yeah.
page. So that was the first time. And then I just always wrote to plays. You know, we did a lot of those things at St. George's. You know, we decide we were going to do a Halloween play, and it would turn into, you know, some historical drama with lots of sedan chairs being carried in, and I would write all the poetry, you know. Iambic pentameter, plenty of, you know, epic yelling and, you know, eloquently holding forth and all that good stuff, and drums,
Yeah.
and percussion, you know. We were where it was at, babes. We were happening. And the Stones burnt down the casino after they played there. And I was at school in Switzerland when this happened. So, you know, rock and roll to me was in your face.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like round the corner. I mean, it was like they burned down the casino. I mean, and they didn't, but it happened the night after they played. So in the Swiss mind,
Yeah.
the goddamn Rolling Stones came and burnt down the casino. Yep, there it is.
Yeah. Bloody rock and rollers.
So it just made it real lively, you know, in
Yeah.
one's brain. I'm sorry, I'm getting off task.
No, that's great.
I
We
didn't
love
know
it.
they did that.
Now.
Well, I didn't know that. It's a great stories, but I think illustrating the fact that, I mean, the Stone. It was a kind of, there was a bit of an element of, some would say, evil about them, because of the evil of rock and roll. Now everybody just accepts it all, you know, because there's not really that danger. But I mean, it was really dangerous, because we had the Beatles. The Stones were kind of dangerous, you know. It was like an element of drugs, and there was like,
Oh, yeah.
what were they doing?
You
and
were
there was
owning
women
up
and,
to being a wimp if you were a Beatles fan.
yeah,
That was sheer and utter complete wimpdom.
yeah. Good songs later, some of them.
You had to be a Stones fan if you were going to stand up and
Absolutely.
say, no, I do not wear a shirt like the guy next to me.
Yeah, my dad said to me, I don't agree with everything that Mick Jagger does or anything, but he's a lot better than the Beatles. He's really got it. And he really did have it, and they did have it, and they were great.
Can you tell us what books you've got out at the moment and where we can find them? Where can people buy them?
There's Lipstick Legends, which is about when the boys became girls in the 1970s, kind of an appreciation of glam rock and interviews with all the people that contributed to that time. There's Pop Sex, Popular Sexuality, which is a heavyweight of a volume, but I think it's pretty funny. Folks
Big
seem
subject.
to enjoy it once they get going, you know what I mean? And Catastrophe, which is a poem about an abandoned pussycat called Pooh Kitty who came to live in our yard, and the rest is history, but it's pretty fun. And Rick Hunt is the incredible artist who did the illustrations for it. He's also going to illustrate Fancy Footwork. It's a complete collection of poetry from 2 books that I put together and published myself, one called The Last Years, one called The Recent Years. And then there's all the new ones, and all with a bunch of lyrics. And I've been wanting to put together a complete sort of lyrical and poetry group collection. So I'm doing that. And then I try to do about maybe 2 or 3 articles every 4 or 5 months for the shows, just to write something to show people that, you know, I respect them enough to take some time and write something specific for the show,
Yeah.
like an editorial, but I don't have time to do it for every show, so I had to be a bit more lenient with myself. Sometimes I give myself too many deadlines, and I get crazy.
Well, you're
I get
always
like, oh, I
writing.
can't do all this.
I think the whole time I've known you, you're always writing. It feels like that really is your passion and your thing,
Yeah.
and poetry, but you're always like at it. I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
and the funny
inspirational.
thing is, I'm sure both of you know this, being lyricists and musicians, I find now that as long as I stay busy doing it, the bits that fall off over here and the bits that fall off over there, when I pick them all up, it looks like these 4 pieces went together in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're following
It's like
your
a
own
brain
trail.
default.
Yeah.
You just stop, and then you pick it up and finish it. You look at it, you put it together, and that was the completion. Oh, thank you very much.
Do you write on paper? Or do you write on computer, or all of them?
No, I write on paper.
Right. Because I've stopped doing that for a bit, but I bought a book and then I keep doing it on my phone because it's modern and it's all, yeah, but the paper's good. Then print it out. then set fire to it.
And then lose it,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, that too, that works.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, goodness, I feel like I've been thoroughly explored. What else can I tell you? What other things do you want me to chat with you about?
So, out of everything you've seen in life, what would you like to see in 2015?
I'm going to give you two answers, all right? The first is the theoretical. And the theoretical is I would like to see us make contact with another species extraterrestrially, which would then allow everyone on this planet to become brothers and realize it might be a good idea to be nice to all our friends so
Wicked.
that in case of an attack, we can rely on them. Just a thought, you know. Or the realism idea would be freedom for everyone, civics taught in every school, education for everyone, national health. Please, freedom for women. Stop believing that anyone, including animals, can belong to somebody else. How would that be?
Pretty good.
That's
Pretty
beautiful.
good.
Thank you, Angie. It's been lovely talking
Thank
to you.
you so much, guys.
And
Thank you. I
I
feel
wanna
like
say-
I confessed.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. It really went well. But from 1974 to now, I still need you in my life. So can we stay?
Aw.
Can we stay in contact and you know
Absolutely.
share ideas?
Please,
which is-
let's not leave it so long next time.
No, you won in the end.
Okay.
wicked.
All right. No,
Thank
lovely.
you.
See you soon.
later.
Angie Bowie.
Take care.